Hi, everyone, and welcome to Talk 49. Yes, we're already there and fast approaching Easter. Last week we talked about diabetes, and this week I'm going to go do a continuation on that because we talked about last week the two types of diabetes. Type 1, which is something that is within you, it's not nothing that you can do about it, it's not due to anything you've done. But type 2 is often related to our lifestyle, our choices, whether we exercise or not, all that kind of thing. That can be managed, as we discussed, but we can also do things to help to not just manage it, but to prevent it. Now, eating correctly is one of the main ways that we can do that, along with exercise. So, if we eat anything, that food is turned, as we said, into glucose. And the glucose will then be stored as energy for us. So we want that energy. But if we're not using that energy, so the glucose isn't being used up, the body has an overload of it. It can't store it anywhere because all the cells that produce the energy are now full. So the body will then store all that glucose as fat. And that's where we can have a real problem. We do not want that extra fat. And we all know that once it develops, it's very hard to shift. So the foods that we need to eat are those which are slow release, the high fiber kind of foods, unprocessed foods. And I will go through some of those now. So we're looking at foods that are going to help us to manage, if you like, our body as regards insulin and glucose. So insulin triggers, these are really the simple carbohydrates. And by those, I mean foods that are very, very easily digested. They have very little fiber, as I mentioned, and we've talked about this before. It is things like the white stuff, as in white flour, white bread, white pasta. All of this has been processed, so most of the fiber has disappeared. Even things like alcohol, confectionery, your cakes, all those kind of things, even chocolate. Is very, very quickly, because it contains a lot of sugar, that is absorbed into your system very, very quickly. It's not taking much digesting. Now, sugar itself is probably one of the worst simple carbohydrates, and we talked the other week about adding too much sugar to our food and watching what we're eating that already contains sugar. So be careful that you're cutting down overall, not taking too much sugar. As I said, if you cut it completely, it can be a problem to you if you're a big sugar eater, but we need to cut that down. Sugar converts very quickly to glucose, and so we get these very, very high energy levels. So all of a sudden, it's almost like zing, yes, I'm full of energy. That's your sugar high, but the body doesn't like that. So the insulin comes in and it takes that right down again, and that's when you get dips. So sometimes if you're hungry and you eat something like a cake or a chocolate bar, it might be fine at the time and for maybe a short time afterwards, because you feel, oh yes, that's given me a bit of instant energy, but it will have that problem within your system that you will very quickly feel low again. And the problem with that is you are then wanting to eat more of the same thing. You won't then say, oh, well, I know, I'll have vegetables or something. You're much more likely to say, well, I'll just eat another biscuit or another chocolate bar or whatever. So be careful of those. Things like juiced fruit and vegetables. The minute you juice a fruit, you're releasing sugars. You're also, in juicing it, taking away most of the fiber. You are far, far better to eat the whole fruit, or, as a lot of people are doing now, juicing vegetables and things as well, you're better eating the whole vegetable. So where you can, don't have too many juices or any of these drinks that you can buy that are really put across as health drinks. They may not be as healthy as you think, because they're putting too much instant sugar into your body. The body absorbs it straight away, and you can get, as I said, these highs. It's not good for our system. Stress is actually very bad as regards triggering adrenaline. So if you are stressed, the tendency is to eat far too much. If we overload our system, and what happens is the system then will take the glucose. The glucose is put into the cells. As I said, if it's not needed, it will turn to fat. And adrenaline will trigger the production of insulin. So you've got it twofold, if you like. It's what you're eating through stress, and the stress itself can actually lead you to weight gain, which is something we don't want. And as we discussed last week, there are also health implications too. Smoking, nicotine also triggers adrenaline, which in turn triggers insulin, and so does caffeine. So if you're drinking lots of teas and coffees and things like that, you really have to be careful. So watch out for these triggers. So what can we have? I mean, many people think they're being healthy, but maybe they're not. So let's say, for example, you're thinking, right, I need to cut down a bit, I need to lose a bit of weight, I really want to be healthy. You've got your exercise program all laid out. You think, right, I'll start with a healthy breakfast. So I'll have cereal and I'll have a nice glass of orange juice and a cup of coffee. What can be wrong with that? In many ways, it's healthier than other breakfasts. You're not having big muffins and pastries and things. However, if you're having a boxed cereal, it's likely that they are processed. And in that process, they will lose a lot of fibre, but many cereals, you've only got to look at the side of the pack, will have added sugar. You're also having caffeine. And as we said, caffeine triggers adrenaline, which triggers the production of insulin, and orange juice. Well, you might as well be drinking a glass full of sugar. I don't deny you're getting a little bit of vitamin C, but it would be better if you could eat full fruit. So what can you have instead of that? Well, could we go for something like porridge? We talk about this a lot, and have, your oats, which take a lot of digesting. They will help you to keep feeling fuller for longer, which is good. Or maybe you go for fruits and a few nuts and seeds on that porridge. And that, again, it adds to the vitamin C. It adds to the variety, if you like, of vitamins and minerals that you're getting. But it all takes some digesting. Or it could be you're not really someone who likes porridge much. Could you take wholemeal toast with avocado, or perhaps with a poached egg, something like that? That way you're having protein, you're having your fibre in there, and you're not having lots and lots of simple carbs, which will actually give you a problem as regards it being too quickly digested. So there's lots of ways that we can change our breakfast. But again, let's say you had the first breakfast. What will happen with that? If it's quickly absorbed into the system, so it's been digested, it's quickly absorbed, you will then have more insulin produced because it's too fast. You'll have that high and the body wants to take it down. So now you're feeling a little bit mid-morning, I'm a bit hungry, but I'm watching my weight. Well, I better not have a morning snack. That's not a good idea, so I won't have anything at all. So what's happening now? Your blood sugar levels are going lower and lower and lower. If you'd had the porridge, your blood sugar levels would be up here to start with. And what happens is, as you absorb the food, it will come down slightly. It'll come down slightly, but it still stays way above all of the food that you've eaten in the first option. As a snack, you can maybe have something like an oat cake with a bit of cottage cheese, something like that. Be careful that you don't go for, as I said, the pastries and things like that. So you then get to lunchtime. Again, you're feeling quite healthy. You're trying to do all the right thing. I'll have a salad. I'll have a pasta salad. Is it white pasta? What's with that salad? Very little other than the pasta, probably. You might have the odd little bit of veg, but you're probably having mainly pasta. Again, not good, because that will again raise your blood sugar levels, which is something we don't want to happen. Instead of that, for lunch, you could have a mixed leaf salad with lots of things like peppers, tomatoes, all those lovely colourful things. And we've always said, eat a rainbow. You're getting a huge variety then of vitamins, minerals, etc. So all that goodness is coming into your body. And then you could sprinkle seeds on that, or you could perhaps have something like egg with the salad, so you're getting the protein as well. And all of this takes a fair bit of digesting. So let's say you've had the cereal breakfast with the orange juice and the coffee. You've not had a morning snack. You were starving, so you then have your pasta lunch. But the pasta has really been absorbed too fast. So again, you've got this slump energy-wise. What are you going to do? This is where we often fall into the trap of having the afternoon tea and biscuits or scones or cakes or just something. It will be the wrong thing as regards our blood sugar levels. If you really want an afternoon snack, again, perhaps even a piece of wholemeal toast with a little piece of meat on. It will fill you, it'll keep you going, or maybe just a little handful of nuts. And I know at the moment you're probably thinking, well, this all sounds a bit boring, but I'm trying to give you options that you could have instead. So by the time you get to your dinner in the evening, you'll be thinking, I've been so good all day. I've only had a light breakfast. I've not had a morning snack, just a little cake and a biscuit or whatever I've had for my afternoon. I had that lovely pasta salad. That's got to be healthy. So now you feel you deserve the very best of everything. And this could be where you say, I'm having a curry with all the works. I'm having the naan bread and the chapatis, and I'm having all the bhajis and everything that goes with it. Dangerous stuff, because in that day, you've had all foods that really aren't great for your health or for your weight. You could easily go for something like grilled fish or chicken with oven roasted vegetables, something like that. And if you do fancy a steak and chips, make sure you're having vegetables with that, or a nice big salad and just a small piece of steak, and obviously not too many of the chips. So it's not that you can't eat the nice things, but we've got to be aware of what we're having. So overall, just in summary, when we eat food, it's converted to glucose, just as we discussed last week. That glucose enters the blood. The blood then takes it to every cell, and that can then be used for energy. It's provided as fuel for our bodies, so it will either be used as energy, or if there's an excess, it is stored as fat. What we don't want to have is a continual excess, which is stored as fat, which will just get more and more and more. Yes, there's more of us to love, I do realise that, but most of us really don't want that extra little tire where we don't want it. So look at what you're eating. Have a look at maybe things that you think are healthy. Check on labels, things like the packs of cereals, that kind of thing. And just think to yourself, are you having simple carbohydrates, things without fibre, things that will just be absorbed quickly into your system? Or are you eating something that's going to keep you feeling fuller for longer because it takes more digesting? Hopefully you'll have luck with that, and I'll talk to you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.